Hey, it's me again. This is take 2. I done goofed. I messed up on the first take. Okay, still using this new software. It's taking some time getting used to it. You sort of have to have it scripted out in your mind. You can't just talk and then edit and post. That's what I've been doing like this whole time. I just talk to the camera and then I take out erroneous information and post and put in pictures. And I never like read anything. I'm always like reciting it from my head and then I go get the pictures. So that's how I was doing it. I was just like going off of a movie in my head. This one, you have to kind of set it up. So I'm not quite used to this skill set yet. But today I'm going to talk to you about, I think this would bring a lot of value to our dividend. And nobody's really talked about it yet. And I think it's something good to talk about, especially now with how high the cost of fuel is. It's kind of ironic in an oil field, but the cost of fuel drives everything up. The secrets of the Orogrande. Orogrande has secrets because not many people have talked about it. So I think this is very much a value-added resource on the Orogrande. Let's talk about fracking water. So, to frack, you need largely fresh water. Some people frack with salt water, but you need fresh water. And it can't have that much sulfur in it, or else it'll, like, sour up the oil. So, it has to be, they're decently picky about the water. You're going to shove a bunch of fluids in that water, propellant, and then you're going to use that to force it through your pilot holes in your lateral well. Fractures the rock. It's all that pressure from the propellant and the water, and it fractures the rock. Then you put a little stop valve here. And then you go down the next and you have a charge. It's a little pilot hole. And then you shove all that fluid in there. And there's your new fracture. And then you take out that valve. That's how you frack in a nutshell. That's the really elementary simplified version of it. But it's the funner version to explain with the sound effects. So that's how you frack a lateral well on paper, in theory. The very simplified version of it. And to do that, you're going to need a lot of water. And it can't just be any water either. It has to be specific water. How much water do you need in a well? Well, this depends on the type of well and where you are. USGS says anywhere from 1 to 12 million gallons of water. The average for Texas is 5.7 million gallons per well. And so if it's 5.7 million gallons per well, each truck, on average, can hold 6,720 gallons. You need at least 848 trucks per well to get it fracked. To bring in that water, it costs about... Now, the articles here will state $2.50, but sadly, that's before the cost of gas went up. These are, articles that were in January. So gas has gone up quite a bit. $2.50, that's $3+, maybe $4 a well. Right now with the cost of fuel. Those big trucks don't get much. And where the Orogrande is, you got to kind of truck it out a bit. Keep that in mind. 5.7 million gallons divided by 42. That's a barrel. 42 gallons in a barrel. So you're 135,714 barrels. It takes $3 to bring in a barrel. That's almost $407,000 to bring in water. And you can't just put it in old wells now. You have to truck it out. Well, good thing our property doesn't really have old wells on it. It has a lot of tanks. So you get some aerators in there and perhaps use it for a second round. Maybe there will be a water recycling facility close, especially if Shell's moving into New Mexico. Hopefully there'll be something close to recycle this water. But you gotta truck water in and out. As a result, you take this, that's just to get water in. You have to double it. Water in, water out. Here is a slide showing water out. And it talks about the trucking fee being $2.50 a barrel, which is 42 gallons. It's the same amount as oil and water. It's 42 gallons a barrel. But that's when the cost of fuel was low. And it's about 50 cents a barrel on a pipeline. Now you're talking $3 or $4 a barrel. I get those confused. $3 or $4 a barrel. You can pay 50 cents per barrel on that pipeline. Pipelines seem very cost effective. However, because they're so cost effective, they're much more expensive and they don't depreciate as quickly. As I talked about from the Shell ConocoPhillips case study that came with 660 miles of water pipeline, which was about $1.5 billion worth that added on to the sale. Because it was used, it still held its value. That doesn't depreciate to zero like rigs and stuff does on oil fields. That has a very good continuous value. Depreciates to a certain point as long as it's maintained. But those cost, about $6 million a linear mile to put in those water pipes. So you're left with the conundrum cost. You can get a truck driver like this small little water. It says it's, cactus freshwater. He'll truck it on in to your site. So you can pay him, $3 a barrel to truck it in. Plus he has to truck it out. You can't just put water into an old well. One, our property doesn't have that. Two, the Texas Environmental Quality Commission, or the Texas Commission for Environmental Quality, says you can't do that anymore. It causes earthquakes. You sort of frack the ground and yourself trying to cram all that water in there. As a result, you have to truck it out. So all these costs have gone up. People talk about pipelines, but pipelines are very expensive, especially now with things going up. And now there's more of a demand with oil more than ever. As a result, this man is very happy and he dances on the truck for you because he's like, whoo boy, get paid a premium today for these things because he gets paid twice. One to bring in the water, one to take out the water. He gets paid twice. Instead of $3 a barrel, it's really $6 a barrel because you have to pay that twice. In and out. As a result, that $400,000 now becomes $800,000, $814,000 you're paying per well on average to frack. That's a lot. It can add up. It's a few $1 million. You have 4 wells. $3.2 million about for 4 wells. That adds a bit of cost. What are we going to do? Well, there is water everywhere in Texas, underground. I live on the Trinity Aquifer. But not all of it's good for drinking. There's a lot of salt water, actually. Texas, during different time periods, was a big sea. As a result, we have oil and natural gas. And as a result, we have water trapped under the ground. We also have aquifers. But not all the water can be drinkable. A lot of it's salty water. Drinkable water is also known as potable water. Some people say potable, but it only has one T. So that technically would be a long O, P-O-T-A-B-L-E. It'd be potable. Technically, although English is a second language for everybody. Even native speakers, it's a second language. Is there a new water source by El Paso? Well, look what we have here. This is called the Cerro Alto water. If you speak Spanish, Cerro Alto means like zero height. It's flat. But this is the Cerro Alto water. This guy in Hueco Ranch, which was adjacent to the Torchlight property, he discovered, like right on next to it, he discovered that his property sat on this big aquifer which had potable water on it and it could produce a lot of water. And he wanted to strike a deal with El Paso. Sadly, that deal could not be struck. El Paso has its own water commission and they already have contracts and palms were not greased. Palms were not greased. It's just like that movie Chinatown. Palms were not greased. As a result, he couldn't sell the water. And nothing came of it. It was sad. I'm sure ranchers would love that water. But guess what? It's next to our property, and the Torchlight Orogrande also sits on this aquifer as well. This is potable water, more or less. In Texas, we call this sweet water. If you can drink the water, we call it sweet water here. There's sour water with all that nasty sulfur and stuff. Ugh, like sour oil, sour water, sweet oil, sour or sweet. Just like Sweetwater, Texas, which is known for the rattlesnake roundup. It's the biggest roundup for rattlesnakes basically in the world. The JC, it's basically called like your junior chamber of commerce people, your junior varsity. It's some high school students. The JCs, they run it. If you like rattlesnakes and snakes in general, I say avoid Sweetwater. If you like seeing dead snakes, then you'll love Sweetwater. But if you like snakes, you'll get sad at Sweetwater. It's quite torturous if you're a rattlesnake. And as a result, fun fact, of these rattlesnake roundups, a lot of rattlesnakes don't have rattles anymore in Texas. So we're causing this evolutionary event. One is swallow wings, actually. Swallows that live in underpasses actually now have tiny bit shorter wingspans because they can maneuver around vehicles because they live in a highway underpass. So they can... Ones that have slightly longer wings will get hit by cars more often and die. So if your wings are slightly shorter, you're actually a bit more maneuverable and you get to pass on those genes. The same can be said with the rattlesnake roundup. Rattlesnakes go... I hear that sound all the time. Like you're in like the one feed room and you move something in the barn. Uh-oh. You hear that, it's a warning. But people who hunt these rattlesnakes also gives them away. The rattlesnakes who have the mutation that don't have rattles on their tail, who don't retain that scale, wind up passing their genes. Kind of like the Massasauga rattlesnake up in Ohio or Michigan. As a result, those tend to breed more now because the ones who are giving their positions, which used to be a warning, are now getting picked off. It is not a good thing anymore. It's being quiet, like an lepid snake, is the better stance right now. So we're kind of aiding in the evolution. There is no goal for evolution, by the way. There's like no end goal. It's just you change, you go with the flow, you adapt. Like that guy's blog, Adapt or Be Left Behind. Here's Sweetwater, though, but there's some good things about Sweetwater. You don't have to stop at the Travel America Plaza where all like the dead rattlesnakes are. You can stop at this intersection right here off of 20 on the south side of town. There's next to the Walmart. It's good. You got a Walmart there. And you got this place. It's Heff's Burgers. I call it Heffy's, but it's Heff's Burgers. And they're pretty good because they locally source all their meat. They'll like tell you what farm that their meat is from, and it's in Texas. It's pretty cool. It's like all their meat's locally sourced, and they got the Blue Bell ice cream in there, which was the listeria poison ice cream for a while here, but it's good now. But Heff's Burgers is pretty cool. You get burgers and ice cream. It does take a bit to get your burger. I've eaten at this particular Heff's Burgers. I've been at that Walmart. There's a very beautiful La Quinta across the street. It has very nice bathrooms, big showers, free Wi-Fi. It's like your mini vacation there. Just go to Sweetwater. You can like stay at the La Quinta, go walk around Walmart and eat Heff's Burgers. And there's like a Starbucks there. What more do you need? In summary, the Orogrande property holds the Hueco Sweetwater, the Cerro Alto water, the aquifer. The aquifer comes from the Sacramento Mountains, not California. That's a bit far away, but the Sacramento Mountains in New Mexico to the north, about 60 miles to the north, and it comes down in the snow and it goes into this aquifer. And as a result, that's a nice continued water supply, and it can save a lot of money. If you don't have a water supply on your property that's good like that, you're paying, you know, this number times 2, $814,000 per well in water. If you have a water supply, then you half it. You're only paying $407,000 per well. And if you have your own water supply and a pipeline, well, that's even cheaper, because instead of paying $3 a barrel, it's 50 cents a barrel. 65 something thousand per well if you can get a pipeline on to take the water away. But that saves a lot of money, and the cost of drilling a well would pretty much pay itself off within the first well that you fracked. It would pay for itself. And not too many other properties have this on their property already, because it's kind of like the Permian's been going for a while. So costs are rising. You know, that trucker man's happy. He's dancing on his truck. The fact that our property's so new, we have our own water source. If there's a recycling facility, great. Great, because then it allows, you know, we can take our water away. They clean it and they resell it. So that would be something, especially if this area gets more developed, or a pipeline gets put in. But if bigger companies move out there, like Shell to the north, you know, maybe a pipeline will be put in. It's very interesting. Okay, guys, that's it for today. That's the secret of the Orogrande. I will see you soon. Goodbye.